poster is on your bedroom wall? For me, Jennifer Love Hewitt. She was a big deal to me. For a 10-year-old or a 7-year-old or 8-year-old, when I first ever discovered her, wow. Those were the words I could say. That was it. I couldn't say anything else because she was an angel. She was perfection personified. She occupied a space on my wall. She was someone I looked up to and wanted to look at. She was someone that I worshiped. Looking back now, that's what I would say. Then at the time I wouldn't know, but she was an idol for me. She was someone that I wanted. You see, you may not have had Jennifer Love Hewitt. It may have been Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson. It may have been the Ninja Turtles. It was someone you looked up to or someone you gave attention to, you gave value to. Today we are talking about worship. We are talking about the things we give value to. We are talking about the things that we deem worthy. Because if nothing else, we all worship something. What I've realized through the years is that we all idolize something. We go to a concert and you'll see worship. You could watch a football game and you'll see the fans going crazy. You'll see worship. You'll drive around communities and look inside the windows and see what people are watching, and you'll realize there's worship going on. What I mean by worship is giving worth to something. That's all it is. What do I deem worthy? Just like with Jennifer Love Hewitt, I put her poster on my bedroom wall. That's the ultimate place of honor in a preteen. But you go to all these things, a concert, a football game, seeing what people are watching on TV, and you'll see what they value and what they think is worthy. We just don't call it worship, but I want to help you call it what it is. We call those things time spent. But ultimately, it's so much more. Because that's all worship is. It's giving time. It's giving a place of honor in your life. It's saying this thing is worth my time. It's worth my energy. This thing matters. We all worship something. We all do. All of us worship. We all give honor and glory to something in our lives. And these things take up the throne of our life if we want to get down to it. But recently I came across this idea that there are times in my life where I'm singing with all I've got to God. We're not meeting regularly as a church, but I still have points of worship where I'm singing to God, thinking about God, praying to God, doubting God that He can use me to change the world, but ultimately trying to get who He is inside of me. But there are times where I'm giving it all to Him and I just feel like He's asking me. There seems to be a lot of other things on your mind. Do you really believe this? There are things that you think about a whole lot more than me. There are things that you are worshiping, you are giving worth, you are giving value, you are ascribing honor to more than me. And it's been very, very convicting. Because I've realized worship is an all-time thing. It's an every moment thing. It's not something that you go to for 1 hour a week and that's it. It's something what you are constantly doing. Paul talks about pray without ceasing. Because I realize we are in a battle for worship. What are we worshiping in every single moment? What is getting our attention? What are we focusing on? Even if we're looking at the problem, are we looking at it in the sense that, God, can you help me with this? Or are we looking at it, this is so big, I can't do this, I'm falling apart. Romans 12:1, and I'm going to use the Message translation, says this. So here's what I want you to do. God helping you. Take your everyday, ordinary life. You are sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for Him. A question I've had on my mind recently is, are you in love with God as much as you are with what He gives you? Are you in love with God as much as you are with what He gives you? That's a question I've journaled and been contemplating, because there's so many times where I think, God, I thank you for who you are. But more so, I'm thanking Him for what He's done. Because it's all about what I'm receiving and not for who He is. Worship is a natural response to who He is and what He's done. And we can only know who He is because of what He's done, yes. But ultimately, the goal is knowing Him. It's not just seeing Him move or letting Him move through your life, but knowing Him. True worship begins at the foot of the cross. That's where it begins. It begins with us realizing that God has done these things for us. He died on the cross. He gave us life. He's bringing us redemption. He's moving us forward because of His sacrifice. Yes, but ultimately, as a Christian, we should be more and more in tune with who God is than just with what He's done. Hebrews 13:15 says, "Through Him, then let us continually offer up a sacrifice of praise to God. That is, the fruit of lips that acknowledge Him." Let me substitute Jesus in there. Through Jesus, then let us continually offer up a sacrifice of praise to God. That is, the fruit of lips that acknowledge His name. How can we worship the awesome power of God if we don't cherish the cross that He came to give us life? How can we worship God without cherishing the cross? That's why worship is a natural response to who God is and what He's done. We know who He is by what He's done. But ultimately, it's about moving forward and falling more and more in love with Him. And if you look at that verse, it says continually, which means any time ever is the right time to praise and worship God. I've mentioned it earlier, but worship is not 1 hour per week. It is not songs. It is not a particular point that gets you into the sermon. It is an all the time, every moment, every day, every second, without ceasing moment of your life. It is worship. It is the battle of, is this worth it? Is this worth it? No, God is saying, all those things are not worth it. Only me. Only He can give us life. Romans 12:1, it says, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. Hear that again. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Worship is a natural response to who God is and what He's done. And it always begins at the cross. It always begins with the acknowledgement that, God, you have brought me this far, and you're going to bring me even further. That yes, you can move mountains, and you did it in the past, and you're going to do it again. It's knowing, yes, He parted the Red Sea so the people could get through to freedom. And He can do it again. We know His past faithfulness, so we know He's going to be future faithful. So I ask again, are you in love with God as much as you are with what He's given you? Yes. You start with knowing what He's done, and you move forward to knowing who He is and following Him and saying, God, move in my life. Help me see you. Help me be like you. That is worship. hope today is that you will know God. Yes, worship is a natural response to who He is and what He's done, but ultimately the goal is to know Him. Yes, we know Him by seeing what He's doing, but ultimately the goal as a Christian is to know Him. Not to get to heaven so we can then see Him, but to experience Him now. To rejoice naturally, be happy with what He's doing in our lives, and to see Him more and more, and knowing Him and talking to Him and reading His Word and being Christians who are followers of Him, more and more like Him every day. I want to read Psalm 115 as we close. Not to us, O Lord, not to us, but to your name give glory, for the sake of your steadfast love and your faithfulness. Why should the nations say, where is their God? Our God is in the heavens. He does all that He pleases. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of human hands. They have mouths but do not speak, eyes but do not see. They have ears but do not hear, noses but do not smell. They have hands but do not feel, feet but do not walk, and they do not make a sound in their throat. He's basically saying, these are the idols that we make for ourselves. These are the posters we put on our wall that are unworthy. And this is what He says, those who make them will become like them. So do all who trust in them. God knows who He is, and He knows He's the best things for us. That's why He wants us to choose Him in all moments as a natural response to who He is and to what He's done. That's why we worship.